Good morning, students. Today we will discuss on a novel, Kanthapura, which has been written by Raja Rao. Raja Rao is one of the greatest of Indian novelists writing in the English language. The others are Mulk Rajanand, R.K. Narayan, Bhavani Bhattacharya, Anita Desai, etc. His Kanthapura is published in the year 1938, and The Serpent and the Raft, another novel, which is published in the year 1960. For this novel, Serpent and the Raft, he won the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1966 and Padma Bhushan Award in 1969 by the President of India. His first novel, Kanthapura, is a classic of the Gandhian movement, a work in which the Gandhian struggle for independence and its impact on the Indian masses finds its best and fullest expression. It is also a great village novel, a novel with the various facets of the village life, with its socio-economic divisions, superstitions, religious and caste prejudices, blind faith in gods and goddesses, poverty, dirty lands, shady gardens, snake-infested forests, dirty pools, hills, rivers, and changing seasons. Kanthapura is a great village novel, but it is greater still as a novel depicting the impact of the Gandhian freedom struggle on the life of a remote and obscure Indian village, and what happens in Kanthapura under the impact of the Gandhian non-violent, non-cooperation movement. During those stirring days from 1919 to 1930, when Gandhi transformed the entire nation in a single lifetime into an army of disciplined and non-violent freedom fighters. There were at least three strands in the Gandhian movement: the political, the religious, and the social, including economic. And these three have been woven inextricably into the complex story of the regeneration of Kanthapura as a result of the freedom struggle. It is not merely a political novel, but a novel concerned as much with the social, religious, and economic transformation of the people as with the struggle for political freedom. Kanthapura is an obscure, out-of-the-way, slumbering South Indian village. This obscure village, slumbering for centuries, suddenly comes to life thanks to the non-violent, non-cooperation movement of Gandhi in the 20s. It is in the handling of these things that the novelist quickens it to activity and thus gives us an insight into the appalling social conditions of our villages, as also into the values that have preserved our people against flood, fire, famine, and exploitation from within and from without. And more than all, that incomparable manner in which Gandhi tapped the deeply religious and spiritual resources of our people living in the remotest part of India and built up a national movement in one lifetime. No other book of this scope and size on this theme pictures so vividly, truthfully, and touchingly the story of the resurgence of India under Gandhi's leadership, its religious character, its economic and social concerns, its political ideals, precisely in the way Gandhi tried to spiritualize politics, the capacity for sacrifice of our people in response to the call of one man like Gandhi, not the spectacular sacrifice of the few chosen ones who later became India's ruler, but the officially unchronicled, little, nameless, unremembered acts of courage and sacrifice of peasants and farmhands, students and lawyers, women and old men, thanks to whom Gandhi's unique experiment gathered momentum and grew into a national movement. Kantapura in India in microcosm. What happened there is what happened everywhere in India during those terrible years of our fight for freedom. Here, Murthy was in college when he felt the impact of Gandhi and he walked out of it as a Gandhi man. There is nothing extraordinary in it, though, for in those days hundreds and thousands of young men throughout the century gave up their studies and courted arrest. But about the manner in which Murthy walked out of college, he is said to have had not an actual first-hand experience of Gandhi by personal contact, but a vision of Gandhi addressing a public meeting and Murthy pushing his way through the crowd and joining the band of volunteers and receiving inspiration by a touch of Gandhi's hand. And that very evening, Murthy went out alone and came back to college and walked out of it for good. Back in Kathapura, Murthy organizes the Gandhi work in the village. The entire novel bristles with action, and all that action is centered around Murthy. He forms the Congress committee in the village, maintains constant touch with the city Congress committee, and through newspapers and other publicity materials keeps the people constantly in touch with events in other parts of the country. It is he who calls the Harikatha man, mixes religion with politics, and likens Gandhi to Ram and Red Man to Ravan, and calls Swaraj the three-eyed. He gives a practical form to the Gandhian program of Swadeshi and eradication of untouchability by going from door to door, even in the pariahs' quarters, and explaining to the people the economics of the Charkha and Swadeshi. He enthusiasms the women of the villages to take to Charkha spinning, and the later on organizes the women voluntary corps. There is considerable opposition from the ignorant, the conservative, and vested interests, but the opposition is faced with courage and determination and the help of influential people like Ranga Gowda is enlisted. There is general awakening and the atmosphere grows highly charged with emotion and enthusiasm as news of the Dandi March of the enthusiastic public support of the miracle that Gandhi was performing reached Kanthapura. Those were tumultuous, stirring times, and this atmosphere of tumult of a national upheaval under the impact of a single personality has been successfully captured by the novelist. There are dharnas, picketing, and satyagrahas. People, even children and old men, are injured and wounded in large numbers. Women like Ratna are beaten up and dishonored, but their spirit is not crushed. Shouts of Gandhi Ji ki Jai and Inqilab Zindabad resound in the air and boost the morale of the people. Large numbers are arrested and refuse to pay the land revenues. Their lands are laid waste and they are compelled to flee the village. In the end, it truly becomes a mass movement. The villagers, comprising men and women of all the castes and professions, and the laborers of the coffee estate, readily meeting the onslaught of the bureaucracy. Kanthapura has rightly been called a Gandhi epic, for it conveys the very spirit of those stirring days when a single individual in a single lifetime could so enthuse the people and so transforms the entire nation. The readers feel the charisma of his personality, but the great Mahatma himself does never appear on the scene. He remains in the background, but his presence is always felt through the transformation he is causing in Kanthapura and in every other village of India. For Kanthapura is but a microcosm of the macrocosm. Muluk Raj Anand introduces the great Mahatma in his novel The Untouchable, and the effect is melodramatic and sensational. Raja Rao has skillfully avoided this mistake. He has made the presence of Gandhi felt without actually introducing him on the stage. It should also be noted that Raja Rao's presentation of Gandhian movement is impartial and objective. He could achieve the necessary artistic detachment, for the novel was written in France, thousands of miles away from the actual scene of the occurrence. There is no idealization. Both the dark and the bright sides of the picture have been presented. The depiction of Gandhi movement goes along with the depiction of the petty jealousies and trivialities of village life. If there are Ratna, Rangamma and Patel Ranga Gowda, there are also Bhatta, Waterfall Venkatamma and Bede Khan. Even the character of Murthy has not been idealized. Even he displays the necessary human weakness and hesitation in tearing a pariah's heart and tasting the drink offered by him. Throughout the novel, idealization is accompanied by constant disapprovals of this Gandhi vigilance and Gandhi vagabondage, the cynicism of friends and hostilities, veiled and open from neighbors, all making for constant vigilance against the dangers of the thesis novel. In short, Kanthapura is a great work of art presenting realistically, impartially and artistically the impact of Gandhi movement on the masses of India. It is not a propaganda piece or thesis novel, but a work of art characterized by the necessary artistic detachment and impartiality. It is a great classic of the Indians' freedom struggle. It gives us more essential truth about the Gandhian era than any official records or books of history. It is a valuable social document of abiding interest and significance. It is not a mere political novel, but one concerned with the total regeneration and resurgence of the masses of India. It is a microcosm of the macrocosm. It is Indian in miniature. The novelist's style of narration makes it a Gandhi Purana or Gandhi epic.